Hey guys, Boris here. The current meta is filled with many conditional comps, and sometimes when playing from a tempo spot, you might find yourself without a home. However, this AP flex comp may just come with rescue and is very great at capitalizing on all the strongest points in the current meta. So let's take a quick look at the comp and then jump in game with a pro. And as usual, this cheat sheet is going to be available in the link down below. Now, again, we are ideally playing from a tempo spot, but playing around an econ, engine, or anima cash out is completely fine, as we're going to be wanting to spike hard on stage 4, as this is where we're securing our placement. For openers, we are looking ideally at something in form of a Shepherd, or a Zoe, or a Teemo with Vanguards. Shepherds are going to be the best part of the board on your stage 3. And then we are playing around this core of the 6 units related to the Shepherds and the Nami and Karma, and flexing our front line. We can play around Vanguards and Capture Grand Bard or Blitzcrank, or around Bastions, swapping out the Poppy afterwards with a Shen and a Bard. If we find an early Kench, we can also play around Brawlers. This is going to be nice as it enables you to possibly play around Victor in mid game, as Victor 2 can be quite stable on stage 4. And if you're completely homeless, finding a Mighty Mech and slotting in the Rast is quite decent as well. Rast can generally cap this board at all form of levels. If you happen to have also Vex items, you can look to perhaps transition into this Vex Fast 9 board into the later stages of the game if you find Vex to be open. This comp is amazing at playing around any form of emblems. Emblems are the best items you can be picking up, and if you're playing for a tempo, they're generally going to be better. And these are all the ways I've found how you can be playing around different kinds of emblems. We have 7 emblems that seem to be performing quite well into the comp right now, and these are the units you might be considering when playing around those. Other things to note, again, Victor 2 is good at stabilizing your board. Frontline is going to be the weaker part of your board, therefore if there's anything that you can use to juice it up is going to be quite good. And Nami 2 is generally a better carry than the Karma, therefore for your itemization you're looking ideally for JG double Nashers or some form of mana item or damage amp, but any form of AP slams will suffice. Karma is going to be holding your utility, and Nunu loves Protector's Vow for the earlier cast, but slamming tank items for tempo is going to be great. And for God's Front, Kale is amazing at enabling you to be tempoing with those item slams and hopefully finding that damage radiant item. Otherwise, Yasuo for the hexes or Ari as a source for econ, since you're taking all those item augments is going to be great. Another shout out should go to the Bronze for Life, especially if you are playing around the Bastion core. This is going to be the best way you can do. Both the gold and prismatic versions are great, and Baron's Lair, if you're able to be stalling long enough, this augment is just overstated at its scaling. Now, without further ado, let's jump in game with a pro. For our WOD review, we are going to be jumping in game with Dankmemes right here, playing at I believe at the moment in the Diamond, but still competing against the top tier challenger players. And we are starting out with a Talon. Again, one of these lines that is only enabled on specific Stargazer constellations. MF here as a drop is most likely going to be sold immediately. We check our Psionic to just make note, one of the things we have to do at the very start of the game. For our item unit holds, we can play around this Talon pair for now. I would be looking to perhaps either hold onto this Teemo right here as one of ways to transition into the line. Otherwise, the shop is not that appealing, and we might be considering possibility if we get a gold. If we had gotten a gold influx, we could have made 10 as well. Able to pick up Ezreal. I'm going to be making 10 here. This is a nice thing to note that we did not find any strong units to be playing around really, and we can see that there's quite some strong boards all around already. Therefore, hopefully we're able to find that second time breaker right away and play from for a spike, generally probably at the start of stage 4. For our augment selection now, considering that we are playing into a low streak, any kind of combat or item augment has to be tossed out. We are ideally searching for any possibility of an econ or an emblem augment right away. Emblems providing us with that direction. Now, therefore, booster pack is just understated in form of a raw gold. They have placed a lot of weight on this 3 cost, but it's not that great. Birthday Reunion is going to be hard. This is generally if you want to be playing for a fast 9 from a stronger start. Spreading Roots, just absolutely amazing. Provides direction. Best. We say that we do not want item augments, but emblems are top tier in the current meta. See an emblem augment, click an emblem augment. We're going to be going there. We have a Nova emblem and a Timebreaker right there. Amazing that we got that Timebreaker, so we're going to have that sorted out. Now we just have to worry there's someone going to be not full opening on this. We see that 2 tanky player up there playing into the Samira board. Has at least 3 units, so we're hopefully being able to outsack them. Otherwise, we'd want to hold on to this Mordekaiser, that links the board quite well together during any form of your stages. But he seems to be probably looking up the possible emblem stats. Check showing that the Nova emblem is not performing as well, but if you're able to play for a fast 9, that Nova emblem is still good. Obviously, we're playing from a lost streak spot, so it's not going to be that great, but keep in mind, if you find a Nova emblem, you still have a possibility to secure quite good placements. Trying to position in a way in order to ensure that full lost streak, as we do want to secure that Reforger right now. This is always something you want to be considering. If you find yourself clicking an emblem augment and finding something that's completely unusable for yourselves, try to find a way to play for that lost streak in order to secure that Reforger. Bottom 2 are going to do it for you. Otherwise, other things to note that we want to be always, if we didn't hold the Mord, at least we want to be holding on to this Lysandra. You do not want to be finding yourself on level 8 or something without Lysandra, but again, he seems to be making an interesting choice. Like, he's trying to, obviously, the reason we're not holding onto the units right now is because we find that there's a player that is, we can see there's an anima player right there, and we do not want to having any form of extra units that could potentially ruin our lost streak. This is going to be a high risk, high reward potential kind of gameplay, but keep in mind that you want to be, if possible, you want to be holding onto those Shepherd units. You want to be holding onto those Mordekaisers. Zoes are quite good. Quickly retracting to our God selection right now. We are playing from a lost streak. Double components are not going to be that great for ourselves. We want still a little bit of an extra gold, and Thresh generally is going to be a little bit more value than the God offered for you. However, these both components are quite decent in the comp, so if we had picked them, it's not the worst part, but we want that extra gold, and we're able to find an Alawi right here. Now the question is, are we going to are we going to need to give up on it here, as we see that there's this side of a player trapping in the corner. And the neat thing to note about these players trapping is that if you see that they are trapping, you can place a unit here on the C1 hex, and that is going to force their trap to walk up. Now, they could be positioning against you in another form of way by placing their main carries right there if you are trapping by yourself, or they could be simply outsacking you by spreading out. There was a certain positioning that was from the Long Fortune days, but the most common thing you're going to see is a trap in the corner, so just place a unit here if you can to try to break their trap, and other units on the other side. Otherwise, not going to be too much going on in the stage, not making decisions, as we are just going to be slotting in these 2 time breakers. Holding on to the, I believe, we could have had the possibility of obviously just holding on to any form of other unit and slopping the time breaker emblem on him, but we want to be securing that we are going to be going for a Reforge, and our board does not really have that potential to be spiking here. Now we finally queue into the side of my player, so we can start considering picking up also some units, holding on to this Jinx here. If you do happen to find either one of the 3 costs or one of the other enemy units, you could be also considering rolling in this kind of position to go for a 300 cash out. This goes generally for any kind of a comp. Getting that 300 cash out for a fast 8 board is very strong, as some of the items are performing well. This is the bow item that on Zaya is absolutely insane. That's a possibility if you have a good constellation to play for her. That, going back to one of my previous videos, you can check it right there, where all the men's mentioned, as well as the cheat sheet in the general link down below. We're able to find a Karma for ourselves, and this Pantheon too seems appealing, but I believe we want to be securing a 6 loss. Without any slams, our board should potentially be still quite weak, but 6 loss is where you're making up all your gold. This is where you're actually gaining the value from the loss streak by gaining that 3 gold per turn, so you're ideally just killing enough units to preserve some lives. We are at 71 here, which is not the worst of the spots, and ideally we're now again looking for some form of an econ augment if we can find. Bond overflow though seems amazing. We have also held on to our anvils just to make sure what this augment is offering for us, and the item augment here is great. We can use so many rods. Jeweled Lotus otherwise is better in the fast 9 comps where you have many carries. This augment scales with how many carries you have, and Soul Awakening is an okay combat option. Got nerfed quite a few times over the last set. And generally it's going to be better for your auto attack spammers. Invested here is a risky, very risky choice, and generally on 3-2 is highly advised to be playing against. On 4-2, if you are in the spot to go for fast 9, it's fine. Build overflow, a tempo augment, that also is not that hot in the meta. Did get 10 HP, but one overflow is just absolutely amazing. See, we can use so many of these rods. Going to be going for a Reforge. We find a Vanguard and Challenger Emblem. The Challenger Emblem is not great, but the Vanguard one we can definitely be considering playing around, either playing around that into that 6 Vanguard on level 9, or simply tossing in another flex unit. having a backliner, for example, such as your Victor there is completely fine. You can be very flexible and then transition the emblem onto some form of a other unit. We're going to be going for full slam, slamming a Rage Blade here, which is a interesting choice. Perhaps he's considering a possibility to also be playing for a LeBlanc here through that Rage Blade slam. And obviously we just want to be trying to kill some of our units right now. And now we're again holding onto these any form of a shepherd units. We find the animal right here, so this is I don't think we're really in a position to be going for 300 cash up, but any form of extra resources we're getting from this lost streak are going to be quite strong for ourselves as we scout around and find that there's quite a strong boards right there, so it's not always secure that we're going to be picking up wins. And yeah, we can see we're getting run over by these players. This is a general thing with your lost streak. We see that there's the anime player that we griefed. I believe they just picked up a perfect loss on their side, but they're going to be having a quite tough time right there. On our next god selection here, Soraka is amazing in a choice that we could be just getting a little bit of extra HP, giving us that buffer. If we're going to be wanting to make it to level 9, bleeding on 1 life is going to be quite tough as you can just queue into some of Exodia, and the tier is generally quite nice. We do not really have that much use for a sword at the moment, as already we have an open sword. And this is going to enable us to start sorting out our Nami carries as well. He is going for a sword though. He's valuing the random one a lot more. And this aligns to our Thresh, which is also an interesting choice. Something that I did not definitely expect. Now the reason is that Thresh Boon is going to require quite a lot of scaling. We do get acceleration hex, which is quite neat. Especially if we end up playing into some form of blank. But what do we exactly do with these swords at this point? I'm a little confused. We might just angle reforging one of them, if not even both, from this kind of a spot. Let's get and see how he manages to approach it. Otherwise, Soraka is not that bad when you are playing from a low life count, right? You're going to be getting a little bit of extra HP, and again, for this comp, the weaker link is going to be your frontline, and also could give you a possibility to queue up to at least one more life through that, while Thresh takes its time to be scaling. So this is an interesting choice that he has made right there. But he is the pro, so let's see how he manages to get himself out of this kind of a position. I would assume that we might even consider going down here on 4-1. We do unfortunately pick up that round, so that is going to be in a big econ hit for ourselves, as we pretty much miss out at least on 5 gold at this point. And we might have to delay our roll down, perhaps also selling off our board. And if we were to level right now, we would not having that much gold really to be working with. And he is mapping out, it seems to be the more standard of a LeBlanc kind of board, but we are going on 4-1. We have 40 gold, got a little bit more from the creeps. Ideally would have lost that fight, able to find a single Nami already, holding on to that mech as a possibility as well. Do pass up on the victors though along our way, but we find a Karma too, so we're going to be slotting in this Nami. Did not even find a single LeBlanc, so it seems that his plan all along was to be playing around this LeBlanc, but we found ourselves into this comp. This is the case, sometimes you might find yourself, again mentioned, just simply without a home, and this is a flex that you can be playing around for, greatly displaying his ability to go for a roll down and identify the spot. On our last, since we are only on 2 lives, we want to be definitely picking up some form of a combat augment right now. We have hit in a new 2 as well, so we should definitely be trying to juice up our board. Healing orbs is generally just a weaker form of a combat augment, go better in your melee comps. Essentially it's alright, but again, our weaker part is going to be that frontline at the moment. Otherwise, it's a quiet choice to be taking, and tons of stats is generically decent as well of an option. But you might want to be simply considering, both of them I would say are somewhat equal. Vampiric Vitality more in your melee comps, not that great. Let's see, what he does default the Ascension right now. Malicious Monetization, we have it all down, so we have possibility. If we find ourselves strong enough to be picking up rounds, it's going to be good. It hasn't been nerfed quite a lot of times right now, so not a great of an econ option. And it does drastically reduce our cap, and we do not really have that strong of a level 9 spike. So I believe that at this point we're just looking for any form of possibility of picking up rounds, but he might be considering it since we still have a lot of our board to be picking up. Going to go with the exclusive customization, as we still have another carry to be sorting out, and our emblems at the moment are more of frontline centric, so I would assume that we are going to be popping this onto the Nami, get our void stuff sorted out, getting that information out from the start, and most likely going with the jewel gauntlet right here. So we're able to go for a crown guard, which is a prime frontline slam if you have the rolls to spare. This comp is obviously quite rod hungry. But now we're going to be securing our placements here. We have spiked quite hard. We do find that LeBlanc now, but we have also reforged our Rage Blade that we had before, since, well, we didn't simply find any and we had pretty much our comp locked in this form of a fashion. Able to find a Shen here that we're going to be able to just flex in for his aura, get that, yeah, we're going to be committing that Crown Guard right now. And into a reroll comp. Now the thing with even with this Fizz comp is that you can just see some of these level 9 boards are level 8 boards are going to be rolling quite heavily, since level 9 is that prominent in the meta, and these 3-cost reroll comps generally rely on picking up a couple of rounds on stage 4 in order before hitting their 3 stars, and that is quite hard to do in the current meta unless you are a victor. For our last god selection, I like this Blessing of Size. It's going to sort our frontline a little bit. We are open in our term of our components, and the rod is also quite fine. Otherwise, sword is okay if you want to be searching for another form of mana generating item. I want to see how much he values it. Alright, he's going to be valuing juicing up the frontline here. Have the possibility of picking up a Kench right now, since we have the Brawler emblem, and we can be giving up on. We find a Blitzcrank now, so this is going to be an interesting choice. We could just simply give up on the Shen, but he does not seem to be valuing. Obviously, some of the Kench's value coming in on him being able to print you somebody like a pair, but we have fully hit our board, and our prospects of making it to level 9 are a little slim at the moment, as we're going to be sitting on this board and having that Thresh, having to wait for the Thresh scaling right there. So we're simply wanting to be as strong as possible, and Kench is simply not there, unless you obviously have him 2-starred. And Shen's aura is going to be a little bit more strong, a little bit more power right now. Transitioning that Vanguard emblem onto the Nami, as the Vanguard emblem simply gives you stats for all the shields going around, and we also have a Crown Guard. But Vanguards get their shield at combat start anyhow, so you're gaining a little bit of a stats whenever someone is getting shielded. And that's going to be quite nice on the Nami right there. I'm also interested in that he's valuing the double death cap on the Karma right there, instead of transitioning the Void Staff onto the Karma. It's a little bit of an interesting choice, and now we have a possibility for another death cap and a Gunblade perhaps. We are a little bit low on gold, so we're simply just going to, this is going to be sufficient for ourselves. It gives us a 3-item blitz, actually, that's quite neat for ourselves, getting that third carry right now. But you can see just how item hungry this comp can be. You have so many ways to be capping out, and whenever you're playing from a tempo spot, the item augments are amazing. But even when you're trying to stabilize, you have to have those items lined up. Have gone on a 6 streak right now, but still quite ways off from our level 9. We see that there's a Victor player that's going to be quite scary, but unfortunately for ourselves, we queue into the weaker Victor player. Another thing, why you want to be rolling quite hard on level 8 is, since these Namis and Karmas are so contested in many comps, you definitely want to be picking up at least one of them 2-star and your 2-star frontliner, since the set generally has the frontline issue at the moment. Now we're getting a little bit of our Thresh scaling. Well, we get a component that's not that excited, but a better outcome than some of the others. Going to be just simply slamming that right on, just to gain maximum value as we can. We have gained already 2 placements, so if we can manage to sneak our way into top 4, that's going to be absolutely amazing. Into this Stargazer board with the Mountain from the Daisik, which is quite scary, since they have simply homed so many emblems. Mountain generally not considered to be the strongest one, but if you're able to play from a tempo spot, you are ahead on emblems. Otherwise, if you are playing from a lost streak, you can simply use that Mountain to gain an emblem, and you're ahead an emblem onto the lobby and reforge that from your lost streak spot. Now we gain a little bit of stats, going to aggressively level to level 9, getting that 3 Space Groove in and the Bastion buff for ourselves. 3 Space Groove, a neat buff for your Nami as well, and obviously here for a Blitz as well. Positioning that Nunu there in a way that, just to ensure that he is getting the best angle in order for his snowball to roll and hit the maximum amount of frontline from the initial hit, and then having that right angle. It seems that the positioning Nunu, one not exactly on the edge, but one a little bit tucked in, seems to be a little bit of better play at the moment. To get another component, so that's completes the Sterex Gauge with the frontline item for ourselves. Right now we could be ideally fishing for some of our machine items, but able to find a mana generation for that Nami, so going to be transitioning that and completing the 3-item Meepsy as well. As well, that is just the bunch of our front line. We can see sometimes the front line is your weaker point. Ideally, we'll be able to find some way to level to some form of a 6 Vanguard board, but it's going to be quite unlikely from this kind of a spot, given the units we have and the resources we have at the moment. So we have to make the strongest thing we can at the moment. Able to get another placement, so we are closing in on the top 4. This is why it's crucial to have at least a few lives, and we are still able to take a good loss right now, and should be fine. But coming up on the stage 6, when the base damage is going to be 12, is going to be a little bit rough. Trying to keep the Blitzcrank there isolated in a way that so that he just gets the reset going as his power is into that form, into the Kaiser reroll board. We are still on the same side, having that Nunu in front with a D-Claw and both the Ramblevest is going to generally be able to stall most of these comps unless it's obviously the Victor burning right there, but that secures us our top 4. But yeah, simply having this Blitz like this isolated gives him the pop immediately, and hopefully by then they are aggroed on some form of a tank. Now the issue here is that we have the weaker tanks on this side, but he's still going to be able to pack quite a lot of punch. That's why having some form of a healing and durability item is quite nice. Going for our roll down again. Do get a little bit more of gold influx right now. Able to find that Blitz too, so that's another power spike that we're coming in. And Shen 2 going to transition the emblems onto him. It seems, yeah, going to be simply using a remover for to get rid of the Bruiser emblem right there. And we are off to the races into the LeBlanc comp that is contested and made ourselves also to level 9 with a Sona 2, but an itemized one. So we're able to pick up a round right there. We are in a top 3 right now. Another component, so the trash is still... it's been a little bit better than I would say on average for ourselves, but this mountain comp with absolutely the insanity amount of emblems is quite strong. Seems that we were considering side swap, but we get a ghost fight here, so hopefully we're able to pick up a round, but this Nunu might just hit our backline. Thankfully it didn't, so we did just dodge the Nunu. So let's see how we fare. The Blitz is in this power mode, but the Xayah has gotten through it, and just the emblem power from this Stargazer comp is quite strong. So we might be considering another swap here. Do get another red buff, but we had that anti-heal sorted out. This is another thing you have to take in note whenever playing from tempo spots. Always make sure you have your anti-heal and Shred and Sunder sorted out. Just Shred sorted out for this comp. Did miss the buff on the Nami, and we pushed our Lissandra into our air hex, but perhaps this positioning is going to be worthwhile. It seemed from the zoom in that he was aware that he missed it, but we do get a big stun, but then Blitz went down, and unfortunately simply they have more power into their comp, so we're securing a top 3, but still generally showing how great this comp is at picking up the rounds on stage 4 whenever you're spiking hard, and is a bailout option whenever your original game plan doesn't exactly pan out. You have the ability to be going for this board and being flexible as long as you're able to find your upgrades, and that's why being flexible on the front line is also a crucial part in expressing skill when playing this line. I would like to thank you for watching. Again, all the links are in down description below. Grab them, let me know how your games go, and I hope to see you in the next one. Have a good one.